Which
I want you all to guess
denominations didn't make it?
I want you to guess who they're missing, who they're not counting.
Is it the Catholics?
Yes.
Yes!
In the books,
God,
only the Pope disappeared. Only the Pope gets taken in the books. The rest, most of the Catholics do not. And the new...
God. They are insinuating that Catholicism is a giant MLM. The only person benefiting is the Pope.
Welcome to Bible Boys, a podcast where two ex-evangelical siblings and an ex-Catholic non-sibling watch Christian media and either praise or condemn it. I'm Aaron.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Michael.
This week's episode comes like a thief in the night as we cover the raptured drama, Left Behind. Before we try to bankrupt the UN, please be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, like and comment on our video, and follow us on Twitter at The Bible Boys. So,
We need to talk about the elephant in the room.
what is that, Josh?
It's the fact that we almost did the Nicolas Cage version of this, but all three of us almost simultaneously went, I'm not doing it. It's too bad, it's too boring, I'm not doing it.
Didn't even finish the movie.
Got 45 minutes in, it was rough.
I don't know if it was 2 years ago or last year, but yeah, we did try to do the 2014 Left Behind before because, as I've mentioned many times on this podcast, the Left Behind franchise is one of those things that I have a sick fascination with. And we did try to do the Nicolas Cage one because it's Nick Cage doing fucking, rapture, heroics. We thought it would be interesting. It was actually literally and continues to be to this day the worst movie that I've ever seen. So fucking boring. I can't believe how they took the concept of the rapture and turned it boring. Fucking dog shit movie. Not to say that this one is like that much better, but at least there was like interesting ideas in this one, executed poorly, but there's stuff going on here at least.
This one it wasn't a good movie. I'm just gonna spoil the end, but I didn't feel like I took a sleeping pill when I watched it, so that might be a compliment.
I managed to get through it without hating Aaron for making me watch it, which is not something I'd say for every movie that has been suggested on this podcast.
No, we all have those films for various people.
Michael.
But Michael gets a whole month, but we don't talk about that. But Left Behind is, like I said, just something that is fascinating to me ever since I was in the 6th grade and I picked up a copy of Armageddon, which is the 11th book in this franchise. I was just fascinated by the Left Behind series. Do either of you have a history with the Left Behind franchise?
None.
Oh, you don't?
Oh no.
I have no. I think I vaguely remember my dad telling me that this is how the world was going to end, but that's about it.
Okay, so this is the wildest thing. This is my brain's broken. It's leaking out of my ears. I might need a minute. I call the Left Behind series evangelical apocrypha because my formative upbringing with Christianity is Left Behind is more or less a documentary film series on how the world is going to end. The Antichrist, one person, singular. Bible never says that, but guess what? Yes, he is. He's from Eastern Europe. He's going to be part of a NATO-esque organization, UN ruling the world, New World Order. I am so shocked that you don't have that connection. I never read the books because I was I've already read the Bible 47 times. I don't feel like giving myself extra credit work on this one. But no, I've seen this movie probably 4 times and I've enjoyed it none of them. Mostly because I was oh, this is how the world's going to end. I don't really feel like participating in that.
I literally have I don't know if my brain was where you're gonna remember every fucking scene from The Passion, in vivid detail, in ultrasound and color, but this one you're just as gonna move through you. I didn't remember, I know I've seen it too. No memory.
So here's the thing. you'd think that this would be a more interesting movie, and I think this is probably going to be one of those where we like barely touch the plot and then just kind of have a conversation about the ideas, because like the thing is that this is a movie that, despite only having like 10 characters in it, is still like overcrowded with a bunch of like B and C plots that are somehow very boring, despite the fact that they're about like international intrigue and like there's a car bomb at one point. And still they managed to flub the execution, which is, almost to the film's credit, because as it turns out, the film is very closely following the plot of the book. If you want to listen to me give a summary of the entire first book of Left Behind, you can look up Honey, I Just Got Raptured, which was the podcast that I did summarizing that. I listened to basically all of that this morning to remind me of how the book and the film diverge. And unfortunately, the film's better, which is saying something.
No! Aaron, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like... Honey, what was the name of it again? I'm sorry.
Honey, I Just Got Raptured. You have to capitalize all of those to get it to come up in overdrive. But yeah.
Is Honey, I Just Got Raptured the like grandfather for this podcast of Bible Boys?
It's the that's the thing that started me being like, oh, podcasting's like easy, but it's also not fun to do by yourself. So that's the DNA to which Bible Boys is comes from. It's the rib from which Bible Boys is molded.
I love being Eve.
I am so happy to be able. I absolutely love that, like, Aaron's gonna make a time machine and go back in time and just swat that book out of little Aaron's hand and be like, you don't understand. This book series will lead you to beginning a podcast in which you'll have to deal with the Green Brothers for the rest of your goddamn life now.
Yeah, if only that were true. But time travel's not real, because otherwise I'd be a vastly different person who'd never read the Left Behind books. But here we are. So let's just talk about the plot real quick. Basically, it starts with Buck Williams, who is this reporter for, it's CNN. They call it GNN. It's CNN. And he is just like chilling in Israel talking to this doctor, Chaim Rosenzweig, who has created this formula. And the formula can allow food to grow in the desert, which is going to be a big deal. Basically, he's growing crops out of sand, essentially. And this is such a huge deal, in fact, that the Arabs, just generically is what they're referred to in the film, launch an invasion from all sides. There's just like literally like thousands of planes. You get that great 90s, I guess 2000s CGI of just like the same plane copied and pasted 100 times going over the skies. And Buck's like, oh no, I'm going to be killed in this invasion. They have a great quote about how he like gets a camera to film it, and like his people back at CNN headquarters are like, man, he would have filmed Hiroshima from ground zero, which is just disastrous.
It's certainly a quote.
Yeah, awful. But then all the planes blow up, and everyone's like, wow, that was weird. That was a miracle. And then like a prophet comes and talks to him, and it's boring. So that's our introduction to one of our main characters. Then we get to this other character who is a pilot. His name is Rayford Steele, and he's like about to leave his son's like 10th birthday party, and his wife and his son are all there. And his wife's like, "Hey, do you have to fly? It's your son's 10th birthday. Perhaps you could be at home more." And he's like, "No, I don't want to do that."
Mood.
Michael, if you identify with Ray, I'm gonna be so sad.
I do not.
Okay. That's good.
We just need to. Can we just? I know we just got on the road, but I need to make a quick pit stop on Rayford Steele.
Yeah.
Which I thought was the porn parody name they went with.
No, that's just his name.
That's what the which is great because the actor's name is Brad Johnson, which is also the porn parody name.
Yeah, no. Like, these Buck Williams and Ray Steele are like the most fan fiction ass like self-insert characters. You can tell, like, if you go through the Left Behind series, it's basically just like Jerry B. Jenkins and Tim LaHaye like cranking each other off, with like how cool their fucking alt personas are. Except that also Ray and Buck suck so much ass and they don't realize it. And it's astonishingly, the movie does a better job of like making them out to be sympathetic, which is wild. So basically, Ray is just like, oh, I have to go to this flight. I'm flying to London out of Chicago. So that's what he is doing. He's like, there's clearly some tension with his wife. It's not really clear. I don't know. Could you all tell why he had a bad relationship with his wife with that, like, as far as the text of the movie went?
That bitch is a Christian.
Okay, I couldn't tell if it was just because that's what it is in the book. But like in the movie, I could barely tell. He was just like, oh, you're always being so pushy, and like not making it explicit.
Stop going to church and have sex with me. Like that's what it just seemed like, actually.
It was somehow worse than like the boomer. Ugh, I hate my wife. Like it was new levels.
Yeah, it's so bad. Basically, we cut back to Buck being at the CNN headquarters, and we also learn that there's a big plan to make one global currency. So that's not mentioned very much.
So, in our world, that would obviously be Bitcoin. So if you support crypto, you are the Antichrist.
Oh, Michael, please don't say that too loud. That sounds like a Brian Greene sermon, just ready to go. And it's one of those where I'd be like, I disagree, but go for it.
I want to hear your dad rail against NFTs for a while. That'd be a great Sunday.
I'm going to send him a quick text. Give me 1 minute. It's just going to be
speaker.
Cryptocurrency equals Antichrist ?
Oh my god.
He's just going to send back !!
Yeah.
Yeah. In the book, apparently the all of Africa and Asia just switched to the yen, and that was fine. The boat that was just a thing that happened, and then the Europe used the mark, MARK. And both America and South America, or North America and South America, both used the dollar, and so it was already a thing. There's only 3 global currencies, which is fucking wild. But
we've got to stop these currency mega mergers. Bust that trust.
Honestly,
I need
really
to
gotta stop this.
Oh man, I don't know how many of these points I want to make. The first one being the fucking euro is right there. It's literally right there, but they went, no, the mark. I guess a reference from the fucking German mark.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too, right? It's a German thing.
Okay, and then the
mark
second
of
one...
the beast.
I'm gonna throw something. What I think the most frustrating part is not just lumping all of them together, but the idea that all of Africa and all of Asia, the largest fucking land masses on the planet.
Yeah, half of the people in the world live in those 2 continents. More than half.
Literally all of them coming together and going yeah, we agree on this one thing.
Mm-hmm,
it's just, oh my god. The US dollar thing is insane, but I do feel like the CIA has been plotting this from the 1950s. Just being I know we can do it, boys.
Oh my god. We also are introduced, they're watching these screens. We learn about these 2 bankers, Cawthron and Stonegal, who are supporting Chaim Rosenzweig and his push to get this formula done. We learn about them. They are ostensibly important, but they're so fucking boring that I don't want to linger on them. Just know that they're positioned as evil bad guys, and they're funding Chaim. And we also learn about Nikolai Carpathia, who is trying to end nuclear war. And he's Romanian, so that's he's probably not going to be important. Don't worry about him. Anyway, we get this meeting with Stanagal in Carpathia, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem." We get this great line from one of them, which is like, why are the Arabs will never agree to this? Their children cry from hunger, but they still choose war. And the response to that is, when their children die of hunger, they will choose peace. Which is excellent.
This message is brought to you by our friends and family at George Bush's presidency.
I think we call that the military-industrial complex.
Mm-hmm. Basically, then everybody, Buck and Ray, get on a plane. We meet Hattie Durham, who is Ray's sexy flight attendant, who he's trying to hook up with, but it turns out she's leaving the airline because he never made a move. They're on this plane to London, and the rapture happens. And like, this is where the movie like almost gets interesting, because we get the exploration of like, what would happen if, half of your people on an airplane disappeared, and like your kids just vanished, and people are like losing their minds. There's a point where one dude like tries to open the plane door, and Buck and Ray have to tackle him and hold him down.
Yeah, this is where the film decides, are we going to be the leftovers, or are we going to be this? And unfortunately, they chose this.
Yeah.
There are so many, like, I'm going to put quote unquote, some quotes on interesting conversations that can be had about, like, what the quote unquote rapture would look like, of, which denominations would be left, and, how would they react. I do just kind of love this movie painting just Christians. If they're going to paint all of Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas with wide brushes, fucking do it with Christians too, I guess. Fuck it.
Yeah, it's really good. So basically, we also meet Chloe, Ray's daughter. She is 20 years old. Keep that in mind. And she sees all like the car crashes going on, and she's like, whoa, this is so scary. And then somebody steals her car.
Because all the good Christians are gone.
I mean, that's the implication, right?
100%.
Absolutely is.
They're saying that they're the fucking, thin Christian line that keeps society together. Like, it frustrates me with that idea.
It's really cool. Basically, they calm everybody down on the airplane by dropping all the oxygen masks, which is very fun. Which is like, you know what? That's fair. That's probably the best thing you could do. They go back to O'Hare. They had to turn around. The president disappeared, they learn. They find out that the UN is like, okay, the world is in chaos. We got to step in, and we're all trying to figure out what happened with these disappearances. It's happened all over the globe at this point.
Oh fuck! Sorry,
what?
I don't know if this is like super obvious, but is the author trying to imply that like because America is led by like a godly leader, that once you remove that, then the sinful world takes over?
I'm not sure, because in the book the president doesn't disappear, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't remember from my notes. It might be the vice president who gets promoted. I don't think you're necessarily wrong. But yeah, like the book takes place like it at least after George H.W. Bush. So like it's not clear whether or not they think the president is a Democrat, frankly. But like yeah, it's unclear. But I don't think that you have the right instinct, right? Like of course it's like, oh, America would never succumb to the Antichrist unless our Christian president disappeared.
God had to remove the one Christian, keeping the world together, the United States president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's why Obama is the Antichrist, as we all know. So like Ray and Buck are like, well, we're it's nice to meet you. Thanks for helping me with that guy that tried to open the door. Why don't I take you home, and then I have a contact that can fly you to New York. But Ray goes home, and his son and wife are gone, and he's really sad about it. At this point, we have to talk about the music. How did you find the music in this movie?
I wish I never did find it, actually.
It sure did find us.
these scenes where Ray is like mourning his wife and child are like really, really bad, because like there is like this sad, corny piano like just like cranked up to the like 11, just like going constantly, and it's just like it doesn't add anything. It actively detracts from the acting, which is already pretty subpar.
Longtime listeners will know that I have a habit of pointing out what can only be described as music montages in the God's Not Dead franchise, and like I feel like those were less heavy-handed.
Yeah, like this is like, you know, again, this is an ancestor of God's Not Dead, right? This is like their grandpa, but like even God's Not Dead looks tasteful in comparison.
Now, boys, important question: at what point did you start shipping Ray and Buck?
I mean, I would rather ship than the canonical relationship that happens in this franchise.
Because mine was when Ray was like, "I'll take you home first." That's when I was like, "Oh, all right."
Why not? All the Christians are gone. It's not just 100% of the time gay sex party.
Yeah, God's not looking anymore.
There's a very funny thing where like Ray throws his Bible and breaks a mirror, and then he says, he's like, wait, now I should actually read this, and he just flips to Genesis 1:1 and reads in the beginning out loud. It's like, all right, he's a newbie, we get it. So basically, Buck Williams is in their house when Chloe like gets home at Ray's house, and she's like, I just thought it would be very funny to be like, oh, why is Anderson Cooper just like chilling on my couch? Because he's like basically the equivalent. Ray.
Oh yeah, that's something that like I never really put together. Of like that dude's probably a decent sized celebrity.
Yeah, like in the book he had won a Pulitzer Prize, like his first reporting job. So like he's hugely famous. Anyway, basically that's how he meets Chloe. Buck, I mean, you know, he talks to this pilot Ken Ritz, for $25,000 he gets flown to New York. We get some really fucking 90s ass music. That is, of course, the intro music to the DVD version that I watched. It's fucking bad. Ritz thinks that this was done by aliens, the abductions, which is very fun.
It's so weird to me that scene, like, that's obviously a play on, like, check out this weirdo. Like, that,
yeah.
He's got a good point. It makes more sense.
Yeah,
It doesn't make
wild.
less sense. At the very least, it does not make less sense.
Yeah, the books like try to draw this contrast between people who are like, oh, it's, you know, it's nuclear weapons debris buildup, or oh, it's some sort of artificial intelligence that's like, you know, able to detect, you know, the strength of your will or whatever, and like that's why all the kids got taken because they can't, you know, resist the super weapon or whatever. But like they're trying to position this as if that, you know, at that point, like all bets are off. It could be fucking anything. But like they're trying to be like only a fool would not believe that it's an act of God.
I want this fucking movie to explain to me what it thinks happens to pregnant women.
That's a thing in the book. Do you want me to tell you what happens in the book?
Oh my god,
Tell
you
me.
have to.
So in the book, they're like there's somebody like filming their wife giving birth at the moment of the rapture, and then they're like, you know, the dad is like talking to the doctor, and the wife is just like, hey, shut up, I'm giving birth here. You know, they're having this banter, and then there's a scream, and the camera watches as her stomach just decompresses, and she just gives birth to only a placenta. It's the most fucked up image I can imagine.
What the actual fuck?
Yeah.
God aborted her baby. God is pro-choice.
Yeah.
Canonically and Left Behind. Yeah.
Yes. Like the books love to get into that fucking ghoulish detail. It's wild.
But I'm sorry, but like you set yourself up for failure because you either have to say God aborted this baby or God doesn't believe life begins until it's given birth to, which is wild for the author to say either way. Oh my god, that's fucking insane.
That's another thing that happens is that because all unborn babies also get taken, Hattie, the flight attendant's sister, works at an abortion clinic in the books, and she like complains to Ray that because nobody is getting pregnant anymore, all the unwanted babies are gone. like that her sister's out of work, and she's like, man, I just wish that people would get pregnant again so that way my sister could do abortions.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because that's a real conversation anyone who's ever worked at an abortion clinic has had. Like,
abortion.
We're just not aborting enough fetuses. Bring them in.
And as we know, they're paid by the fetus.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking ridiculous.
It's a commission.
That's what I'm saying. That's why this film is better than the books, because the books are so fucking gross. Like the things where Ray has a corny ass montage where he mourns his children, but in the books it's like four whole chapters of him just being like, why was I such a shitty dad? Why wasn't I a good husband? And it's like, yeah, dog, it's because you suck. I don't know what to tell you.
It's a bad time to start having these thoughts, man.
You should have thought of that. It's shitty. Anyway, Buck tries to go find a friend that he has in London. His friend's dead. Buck gets shot at by a sniper. Then Alan Tompkins, who's this other guy that they both mutually knew, tried to send him a message. He goes to visit Alan Tompkins, who gets blown up in a car bomb. It doesn't matter, really. Basically, it's just like, oh, there's a big conspiracy going on with Stonegal. There's another scene where Ray is like, okay, I gotta be a Christian. He goes to the church that his wife used to be at, and there's Bruce Barnes, who in this one is played by a black man, which is a very interesting choice because he is not in the books, and which is very funny because there's basically 0 people of color in the books until like the 4th or 6th book, and they're basically all just fridged.
Oh my god!
Because of course they are, right?
Of course.
But there's this hysterical line where the pastor is like giving this, speech to God, and he's like, God, give me one more chance, please use me. And Ray comes over and like leads a hand on his shoulder, and he's like, he already has. It's like,
it would have been great if he shot him then.
It's wild. Sienna is run by a bunch of hippies. We get to see Buck's editors, and they have like a bunch of like weird. I don't know what the forehead symbol on his like editor's head is. I don't know if it's a religious thing, but
I was trying to figure that out too.
My understanding is like it's a new age thing. I'm not sure, but it's just a weird comment.
One of my favorite trends that you have with conservatives is pretending that CNN has the same political beliefs as like, I don't know, me. And they don't.
Yeah. People who only watch Fox News think that like CNN is like a bastion of liberalism, which is very funny.
This is tangential, but I did find out that my dad has moved in the past decade from watching Fox News to hate watching Fox News, which is a good thing, but it's wild. He'll just watch it and get so angry at them. He's like, man, can you believe the stuff they're saying? Wild and incorrect. And I'm like, then turn it.
Don't give them the views, Papa.
But CNN's got all those leftists and communists on it, though.
So true.
Basically his reality TV. He watches that for the same reason I watch like 90 Day Fiancé. It's like, I feel better about myself and worse about the world.
I would love if he like day drank and watch it, like white wine.
I assume your dad doesn't drink, though.
Oh no.
No. Much like Irene Steele in the books, does not believe in drinking. Okay, so basically Ray is like, hey, Chloe, our family's in heaven with God. And she's like, no, they're not. But she'll get over that by the end of the movie. Nicolae Carpathia, the Romanian, is like, we think that the disappearances were caused by nuclear weapons buildup. Strangely, at this point in the film, they said that only 142 million people disappeared, which is a very low number, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's like 7 billion people.
Even in 1995, right? Like, well, it's 5 or 6 billion people, right?
Yeah, you're right. They're like, which
I want you to guess
didn't make it?
I want you to guess who they're missing, who they're not counting.
Is it the Catholics?
Yes.
Yes.
In the books, only the Pope disappeared. Only the Pope gets taken in the books. The rest, most of the Catholics do not. And the new.
God. They are insinuating that Catholicism is a giant MLM. The only person benefiting is the Pope. Just join our pyramid.
Oh
You're so
that's
right.
so
I wish
good.
that I wish that Catholicism was more explicitly an MLM. No, in the books, the person that takes over the Pope does become the leader of the Babylon harlot faith, and like starts doing executions on Christians. So that's what happens.
I also like think if this was written like today, that we would get an interesting take of one of the popes getting taken. I don't think both would.
Wait. The ones that are living, you mean?
Yeah. I not the two concurrent ones. We haven't gotten to the point where the American Pope has gotten started yet, unfortunately.
Yeah. This was recorded in 2022, not 2023. When I'm predicting the American Catholic Church will be founded.
With the Vatican in Ohio, Columbus.
Let's really like calm down and not be dramatic here. This was recorded in March. We're not recording this in September.
Oh, Christ.
Schism Part 2. But yeah, like I definitely think the author would have had some like, this one made it, this one didn't. I don't know enough to know which one.
Which one do you think gets taken, Josh?
I think the old, shittier one compared to the newer, less, but still extremely shitty one.
You think Benedict gets taken?
Yeah, I think that this one likes gay people just enough to not get taken, but he hates gay people just enough for me to hate his guts.
That's really funny.
It's a fun little sweet spot where he doesn't go to heaven, but he doesn't get like, I don't know. I don't stan him.
He doesn't get your vote to convert.
Yeah. I'm not converting to his fake ass religion. The other one, though.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Can't believe that you're a Benny stan.
Frankie Army Rise.
In this house, in Bible Boys, we stand Frankie.
No, we fucking don't.
In comparison.
I guess that's true. By comparison, at least fucking Francis wasn't like associated roughly with the Nazis. Anyway.
I forgot that.
So here's the thing. Basically, the stuff that Buck found at his friend's house shows that like it's like a disc or like a mini disc, and it reveals that Cawthron and Stonegal are going to buy 10 tracts of, in theory, useless land, but that are actually going to be used to grow, the world's food supply to control the world, using Chaim's formula. And also, there's something else. Oh, they found the plans that they're going to also rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, the temple that was destroyed by the Romans, correct, Josh?
I believe so.
Michael?
I do have a quick question. Does it explain in the books why, like, is there like an insane population boom? Like, is there trouble supplying the world with food that, like, this is the only source people are getting it from? Because that part confused me.
It's very weird that they think that we need more food as opposed to just like more equitable distribution of food.
Yeah, because we got lots of food, we just don't give it to everyone.
Yeah, you can get a real insight into the mindset of the people who made this property, right?
Yes.
Like, this had big, like, the people that worry about, like, overpopulation vibes.
Yes, eco-fascism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
But yes, I believe it was destroyed by the Romans. I don't know when. I'm a bad historian.
You don't know everything about history?
Yeah, what the hell, Josh?
Are you even a historian?
God, I would have every, like, coworker I've ever had when they found out I was a history major would come up and be like, "Oh, you're a history major?" And then ask me, like, a history question. Be like, "When did World War II end?"
Name every date.
Yeah, and I'd be like, "I know, but do you have any idea if I'm correct?" And they'd always go, "No."
Okay, so yeah, basically, they're like, oh no, the Arabs, again, referring to everybody who is a Muslim as an Arab, is like, they're not just gonna let Israel, build this temple, and they're like, oh, well, the UN will make peace with them by, negotiating with the formula and giving them food, which they, apparently don't have. So basically, anyway, Carpathia becomes the Secretary General of the UN, and, like, there's this big meeting, and like Buck goes to this meeting and he's like, oh no, Stonegal and Cochrane are like the people who are trying to kill me. Carpathia, will you help me? And Carpathia's like, yeah, I'm gonna do some mind control shit. And basically what happens is that it's so weird, but basically he takes the gun from the security guard and shoots Stonegal and Cochrane, and then tells everybody that they killed themselves. And only Buck is the person who doesn't see that because he previously converted to Christianity. And then everyone's like, wow, that was crazy. Anyway, I guess Carpathia's, super powerful now.
What's wild is that this is the, like, bum, bum, bum part of the movie when we watch God swat away an entire Air Force in the first, 45 seconds.
Yeah, they really opened on a high point and then kind of de-escalated from there.
Like, the armies of the world are being smote down by God. Anyway, this guy made shot 2 dudes, and no one knows about it. The end.
So crazy.
Did you notice the guy blinking? The shot guy?
I didn't.
That's really good. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, maybe he is alive.
That's actually the plot twist, is that he shot them dead and then brought them back to life.
I feel like that probably happens at some point in Left Behind. I know Carpathia starts resurrecting people. It doesn't matter. That's basically the plot of this movie. It's convoluted, and we cut out a lot of the details that are uninteresting. But yeah, this is a very boring part in the Left Behind series, which, if you do read the books, is technically interesting because there's a lot of stuff going on. It's just they're written so fucking poorly that I wouldn't recommend that you read them.
Yeah, I mean, apparently God aborts a baby in one of them, which is fascinating.
It's pretty good.
Can we talk about the last, 20 seconds that is the, wet fart of the ending of this movie?
Please.
Of just, I don't even remember, I think it's Buck just being like, yeah, the next 7 years are gonna suck. Anyway, I'm going to church. And that's the fucking end of the movie. That's how it ends.
Yeah, it
and
is.
It's just so nothing.
Yeah. Basically, there's everything's going to be really terrible, but we, the Tribulation Force, are going to have a great time surviving and then getting martyred. Anyway, goodbye. To give you some context, when World War III breaks out, I believe the third book opens with the quote, "It was the worst of times. It was the worst of times."
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not.
You got a point. Can I please, I'm begging both of you, read a quote from the remake?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
What makes Left Behind different is that it is a contemporary story that could actually happen at any moment. It is also a historical account, in a sense, because it's based on a true story. It just hasn't happened yet. So it's very important to us that the core story not be changed.
What in the wide world of fuck?
That was, I believe, the producer of the Nicolas Cage version. I
like to call all speculative fiction a historical story that hasn't happened yet.
And there are so many things incorrect about it that, I don't know, y'all.
I dragged C.S. Lewis for 5 whole minutes for being it's not an allegory, it's not a metaphor, it's real, Lion Jesus. And then this asshole comes and says, hold my beer, it's not alcoholic because I'm an evangelical. Well, let me tell you about how Left Behind is historical. This does really feel like the kind of thing that you would find in a Christian bar with someone who's had too many, stumbling and slurring their words, holding one finger up, trying to put together why Left Behind is actually a work of historical, documentary style.
I can't believe that he got the historical and accurate part wrong. Both of those words are incorrect.
Usually they only pick one or the other.
Yeah. No, it's not historical, because that's not what that word means. It's not accurate, because that's also not what that word means.
Why didn't they just go with prophetic? They could just be like, it's prophetic. You can't prove that wrong.
Michael, that I guarantee that producer does not know what that word means. I'm being very mean to this producer because I think rightfully so. You
made
can't
the worst movie ever, so yeah, you should be.
I believe so, like, wholeheartedly that if you make something that, like, you have to, even when you're insulting something terrible, you have to respect the, like, creation process. Except for that goddamn movie that bored all of us to death, and that is apparently going to happen. So I think I might convert just so I avoid having to deal with that movie again.
What do they call? They call it Cage's Wager, I believe.
Do you really want to
joke for you all?
Do you really want to risk having to watch Left Behind, the Nicolas Cage version again? Didn't think so.
Oh my god, Jesus, actually.
Yeah, so I'm straight now. I like both popes, and
oh my lord. Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts about the ideas conveyed in this great film?
I think Michael made like an excellent point that, like, this is weirdly what evangelicals take as, like, gospel. And it's so strange to me because, like, Revelations is held with such regard, and, like, it's I don't know, at least evangelicals just fucking adore that book of the Bible. And I don't remember what we ranked it in our ranking forever ago. But, like, it's a piece of historical propaganda and, like, poetry and I don't know. They remove this. It just removes everything I find beautiful about, like, that chapter of history in which that book was written in, and just makes it a weird mid-2000s apocalypse movie. And that's all that book is to some evangelicals, and I think the world's lesser for it.
That's so much more nuanced and thoughtful than I have. So I'm just going to say, if I have to watch one more fucking Kirk Cameron movie, I'm going to lobotomize myself because that man cannot act in any way. And I find him so boring. Every time he's on my screen, I want to take a nap. And he's on screen so much in this movie. It's 90 minutes. Would you all believe I had to take a break at the 45-minute mark? I watched this movie in 2 sittings because, and I've seen it so many times. I really could have, but I believe in giving you all content. I really could have just said, I'm phoning this in. I'm going off of the good old memory. But no, I watched it again. I did get 45 minutes in and said, this feels like 3 hours. I'm taking a break. And it was the best choice I could have made.
Just real quick, going to his IMDb page to punish Michael for making us watch horror movies.
There's like a Christmas movie that he's made that I kind of want to watch.
Is it Saving Christmas?
Yes, it's called Saving Christmas, and it's about how materialism is good, actually.
Oh, we need to watch this. Oh my god.
You remember when Jesus went into the temple and saw, like, gambling and selling shit and went, this is great. This is what I'm here for.
Yeah, famously.
That's right after he went into the temple, and there were some people that were saying, like, no, like, we should get rid of material goods, and he whipped those people and said, no, buy more stuff.
There is one change from this movie to the book that is, like, unfortunately a little bit relevant here in 2022. Uh-oh. Which is that Israel is not invaded by the Arabs in the book. I mean, they help, but, like, Israel's invaded by Russia.
Oh.
I mean...
Huh.
And Ethiopia, notably.
Oh.
Wait. Wait.
I'm sorry. What?
Wait, huh?
So, right, there's the Gog-Magog War, which is a thing that was like, you know, in theory is noted in Ezekiel, right? And in the Bible, right, they talk about these kingdoms that are in modern day Libya and Ethiopia, and, like, those are the people that are involved in this Gog-Magog War, and also, like, a kingdom from the north, which I guess in Jerry B. Jenkins' mind is Russia. So Libya, Ethiopia, and Russia all team up to dogpile Israel in the book.
That is clearly someone who's just never opened a history book about the history of Ethiopia.
Yeah, there's so many things that make me go, huh, on that one, and I think the Ethiopia one stands out the most.
Just like, leave Ethiopia alone! What did they do?
Literally, what? Because I get Russia because, like, we live in the United States. I get
So,
it.
like, being on the planet in the last how many years? I understand.
I listen, especially in the year of our Lord 2022. I get that one, but I don't. The rest is baffling.
Just wild. It's just so. That's why I love the Left Behind franchise, because they take these specific bits of scripture and try to cram real world analogs, into them and be like, this is exactly what's going to happen. This is how it's going to go down. And it's just wild. There's a bit where they talk about, like, there, in theory, there's going to be a bunch of stinging insects that come that will sting people, but they won't be able to die, and they'll try to kill themselves, but they won't be able to. And, like, they describe it in the book as, like, literally, like, little horses wearing chainmail, and, like, the bugs have human faces and like long fangs, and they, like, buzz up to you and try to bite you, and it hurts quite a lot. It's just so good.
So wild. I do have a very important segment that I have to bring to us.
Good, please.
So we're gonna read some reviews.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Because we have to. So let's start with a favorite of mine from Eric Snyder. As a film, it's terrible. And, I don't disagree with that.
But it has a historical text.
Another good one is Nearly Unendurable, which, as someone who had to take a break,
wait till you get to the Nick Cage movie, man. Then it is unbearable.
Glenn Lipp from Los Angeles Daily News said, "So awful that even true believers will have difficulty staying awake."
Yeah.
But there is a subset of these reviews that I find particularly funny. So we're going to take a quick detour and then end with a unrelated review that's my favorite review I've ever read in the history of reviews. So we're going to go... Where is it? Oh, okay. So this one is from our good girl Marjorie at the Austin Chronicle. The loosely scripted story is further burdened with clunky dialogue and performances, shoddy continuity, and, well, Kirk Cameron. This is the drag Kirk Cameron segment of the reviews, because there are two that stick out in my brain, and this next one just goes so hard. We're asked to buy Kirk Cameron as a hardcore journalist covering an international crisis in the Middle East. 1 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, we saw that man, like, assault a computer earlier, and I don't see him standing up for anything.
I have one last review for you. And this one, I'm going to return us to an old game where I have you all guess the score out of 5.
Yes.
So this is from the Mountain Express. Ken Hank wrote the most succinct review I've ever read. Whoa.
I guess I'll give it... it's out of 5?
Mm-hmm.
I think he probably thinks it's a 5 out of 5 if he gives it such a succinct review.
I'm gonna go the other direction. I think he gave it a 0.5.
It is 0 out of 5.
Wow.
Poor Ken was left speechless.
Whoa.
Imagine working for a local newspaper or a website, and they're like, "Hey, will you review this movie?" And you submit an email with the subject line that is longer than the body, because the body is just whoa.
I love to imagine that, the editor was like, no, we pay, per word. So, like, do you want to kind of beef this up? And the dude just went, whoa. They just fucking changed him, like Hodor style.
So my mom used to work for newspapers, so I know that they actually have to meet a certain like length count. So like your story is measured in inches. So I suspect his editor was probably like, we need like 6 inches on this thing, and he went to the font and just increased it by 1,000, and they had to print that, and that was probably a very good use of ink, I think.
Honestly, oh fuck, that's funny.
And I also want to get us into like overall reviews. So I want you two to guess what percent this film has on Rotten Tomatoes. And for
What if I
saw
know it by
I saw this
heart?
on Wikipedia, so I'm gonna abstain. Okay, we all know.
Do we know? So it has a 16%. Do we
Yeah.
all know the Nick Cage rating?
Oh, I don't.
That's gotta be like 2%, right?
I think it's probably higher because it's Nicolas Cage. I think it's got like a 40%.
It has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's fair.
I have faith in
Literally
humanity
nobody
again.
could watch that movie.
Oh, man, that makes me feel so much better.
And so, I love like the nuts and bolts of how these things are made. So typically, like to make money on a film, you have to double the budget, just like when you factor in everything. According to reporting, no one who made Left Behind actually figured that out because they self-reported that they made 4.2 million up against a budget of, you guessed it, 4.2 million. In fact, I have seen some reporting that show the numbers down to the dollar the same. And that is just a remarkable feat where this movie's like, no, we don't want to make any money. We just want to pay our bills. And to the dime, we want to pay our bills.
That's probably a tax thing, right?
Yeah,
Oh, for
100%. But,
Yeah.
they did have church volunteers were most of the actors for this. And
We could tell.
yeah. But also they had a lawsuit filed against them because of breach of contract, because basically the writer wanted to remake the series. He was like, wait, you didn't do a good enough job. And so he has this quote: "My dream has always been to enter the movie theater with a first-class, high-quality movie that is grippingly interesting, but also is true to the biblical storyline, and that was diluted in the first attempt. But Lord willing, we are going to see this thing made into the movie it should be, and that all the world sees it before the real rapture comes." And that is how the 2014 film Left Behind was made.
You can hear the monkey paw curling as he speaks.
That dude might want to, like, I don't know, just look into a different book series to watch if that's the kind of thing he's looking for.
Well, here's the thing, is that despite the fact that they made a net income of $0, apparently, there's still 2 more films in this franchise.
Oh, God.
Which we will be watching next week!
Oh, my
That's
God.
not true. We're not going to do that.
Before we get, like, all wrapped up, I just want to take a quick moment and say the most shocking thing of this film was not, the content or, like, the books that it was based off of, or the fact that it was made a profit of approximately negative 18 cents, but the fact that it was not made in the United States and it was made in Canada. And that just, they're not so different, Our great brothers to the north, they're not so different than us.
Was it really made in Canada?
It was made in Canada, yeah.
They didn't shoot at O'Hare?
It's if
That's
you look
true.
at the little Wikipedia, the country, Canada.
That's true. O'Hare would never let them waste their time like that.
Like, you want us to close what? The airport? Nice fucking try, Kirk Cameron.
Is Kurt Cameron calling?
Yes. And he's calling just like a receptionist, like at one of the gates.
I
Who are you? No.
I do kind of wish that, like, Rayford Steele woke up and was just like, Kirk Cameron! Because he's home alone. This is the airport they left from.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's not a good joke, but I had to meet
my
quota.
joke about O'Hare is that I thought it was shot on location because it always looks like that with the burning cars and people bleeding everywhere. That's just every day in that airport.
Good to know that your our Reagan is your O'Hare.
Listen, we all have that one airport that has it out for us. I guess we should rate this fucking film, huh?
Yeah. Oh man, whoa.
Okay, all right. I'm going to give this Pope number 248. That's Pontaine.
Are you sure it's not a rapper?
I wish. Did you hear Pontaine's new single? Fucking roasted him. Got Francis's ass.
I love like the
Pontaine
greatest
Frankie.
rap beef of all time: Pope versus Pope.
Don't give him ideas. Oh, I'd love to watch Pope Francis and Pope Benedict rap battle each other. That would actually be amazing.
I would start going to mass again if I could get guaranteed one rap battle per mass.
Oh my god. I have to give this 0 out of 4 raptures because it does seem like this author is trying to bring the end of the world by making these terrible films exist.
So yeah, definitely glad that we experienced this. I don't have anything else to say. I wish this was better because I truly think that the Left Behind franchise is so interesting, but also is made by fucking dirtbags. So I don't know. I guess it's good that this didn't pop off. Do we have any ideas of what we're gonna do next week?
Probably
I've got
something
like
Jesus
15
related.
ideas.
All right, we will unveil that next week, listeners. But if you haven't got enough of our great criticism and intellectual analysis of this dogshit film, where can we be found on the internet?
I'm at Green History on Twitter.
I'm at Michael's Diamonds on Twitter.
I'm at Aaron SXL on Twitter, where I tweet about health policy and tabletop RPGs. Just released a YouTube video about the RPG Breathless, which is a really fun, lightweight zombie survival game, which is really cool. I do another podcast with my friend Layla, and that's at Mortified Pod. If you want more bonkers theology conversation, we talked about the video game Xenosaga 2, where I just go on a big screed against Nietzsche, because fuck that guy. His ideas were so bad. So if that's something you're interested in, check us out there. But if hearing us describe what the end of the world looks like brings you to tears, what's the thing that I say?
Don't forget to cry.
Don't forget to cry. Just remember that it is okay to cry because even Jesus wept. We'll see you all next week.